You keep asking, why am I alone? You keep wondering, why did they leave? You look at your life and think something's wrong because the phone stopped ringing. The room got quiet and the people you trusted are no longer around. But hear me when I tell you this. God didn't isolate you to punish you. He separated you to prepare you. Sometimes the silence is not rejection. It's construction. You're not in a season of abandonment. You're in a season of alignment. Because when God wants to elevate you, He will first separate you. He'll pull you away from distractions, from opinions, from noise, so He can whisper things into your spirit that nobody else was meant to hear. So don't despise your solitude. Don't curse your loneliness. Because what you call alone, God calls in progress. When God wants to do something significant in your life, He doesn't start with a crowd. He starts with isolation. Moses was alone on the backside of the desert before he heard the voice from the burning bush. David was alone in the fields before he was called to the palace. Jesus was alone in the wilderness before He walked into His ministry. So maybe the reason you feel like nobody understands you right now, maybe the reason doors are closing, people are leaving, and life feels quiet is because God is detoxing your environment. He's pulling out everything that cannot go with you to the next level. Because where He's taking you, not everybody can come. Some relationships can't survive elevation. Some environments can't handle your anointing. So stop fighting the silence, stop chasing what walked away, and stop crying over what left. Because this isolation is not rejection, it's preparation for revelation. You're not losing people, you're gaining purpose. When God finishes this private work in your life, the same people who ignored you will watch you step into what they could never handle. When God separates you, it's not because He wants to break you down. It's because He wants to build you up in private. You see, when you are around too many voices, too many opinions, too many distractions, you begin to lose the sound of your own soul. You start listening to what people think you should do, what they expect you to become, and what they believe you can't achieve. But when God pulls you away from the noise, He's not trying to punish you. He's trying to give you back your identity. He's trying to remind you of who you are when nobody's clapping, when nobody's watching, when nobody's approving. God uses isolation as His workshop. That's where He takes ordinary men and women and turns them into instruments of His purpose. Look at the greats. Before every major move, there was a moment of being alone. Joseph was in a pit before he stood in a palace. David was tending sheep before he ever wore a crown. Moses was wandering in the desert before he ever lifted a staff before Pharaoh. Jesus Himself withdrew to lonely places to pray. Every person God ever used powerfully went through a season of silence, of separation, of solitude. Because that's where God teaches you what applause can't teach, what comfort can't teach, what company can't teach. In isolation, you learn the sound of your own heart. You learn what truly matters. You learn that purpose doesn't need a crowd to be confirmed. It only needs obedience to be filled. When you're surrounded by people, it's easy to depend on their validation. But when God isolates you, He strips away that dependency. He teaches you that your value isn't measured by how many people follow you, support you, or cheer for you. It's measured by how steadfast you remain when no one sees you, when no one calls your name, when no one claps for your effort. Because in the private places, God builds public strength. Sometimes God will close doors that you thought would lead to your destiny just to show you that your destiny doesn't depend on doors. It depends on Him. He'll remove the voices that comfort your weakness so you can confront it. He'll take away distractions that keep you comfortable so you can grow uncomfortable enough to change. Because when God prepares you for something greater, He won't let you stay surrounded by what's average. He'll move you away from familiarity, from people who drain your vision, from places that limit your faith. You might not understand it while it's happening. You'll cry over the friendships that faded, the relationships that ended, the opportunities that vanished. You'll ask God, why are you taking everything away from me? And God will whisper, I'm not taking it away to hurt you. I'm clearing the space so I can fill it with what's meant for you. Sometimes God can't add until he subtracts. He can't multiply until he divides. He can't reveal until he conceals. That's why your alone season feels so strange. It's not emptiness, it's preparation. In isolation, God teaches you dependence. You start realizing that what sustained you before won't sustain you now. You stop leaning on people and start leaning on his presence. You stop chasing attention and start chasing understanding. You stop trying to explain yourself and start letting God defend your name. You begin to see that solitude is not a prison, it's a classroom. And in that classroom, the lessons are costly but priceless. You learn how to pray when no one's watching. You learn how to stand when everything is shaking. You learn how to trust when nothing makes sense. You learn how to believe when you have no evidence but faith. And when you come out of that season, you come out with something no crowd could ever give you. Strength that's anchored in conviction, not applause. Because isolation is the birthplace of revelation. God hides you before he exposes you. He conceals you so he can prepare you. It's like a seed before it grows. It must first be buried. It must be covered in darkness, unseen, uncelebrated, unrecognized. But deep beneath the soil, and care enough, something divine is happening. Roots are forming, strength is building, and the foundation is being laid. The seed doesn't complain about the darkness because it understands that the darkness is not its death, it's its development. That's what your season of isolation is. It's your underground work. It's where your roots are being strengthened for the fruits you'll bear later. So don't mistake separation for rejection. Don't confuse isolation with abandonment. What feels like a lonely season might actually be your launching pad. You may be alone, but you are not forsaken. God is behind the scenes, building character, deepening wisdom, refining motives, purifying vision. Because when the time comes for him to elevate you, he doesn't want you to crumble under the weight of visibility. He wants you to stand firm, rooted, grounded, unshaken. That's why this season matters. Because if God didn't isolate you, you'd never hear his still small voice. You'd never discover the strength he placed inside you. You'd never realize how much power you carry when you stop depending on others to affirm it. God isolates you not to break your confidence, but to rebuild it on truth. Not to make you lonely, but to make you ready. And when you come out of that place, when your time of preparation is complete, you'll walk with a new kind of peace. You won't chase people anymore. You won't need validation anymore. You won't fear solitude anymore because you'll know what it means to be chosen, not popular. You'll know what it means to be refined, not recognized. And you'll finally understand that isolation wasn't God's punishment. It was his strategy to prepare you for everything you prayed for. Silence is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's often a sign that he's forming you. When God quiets your surroundings, when he pulls back the noise, when he removes the constant chatter that used to fill your days, he's creating space for you to grow stronger on the inside. Because strength doesn't come from what you hear, it comes from what you endure. And endurance is born in the silence. When everything feels still, when no one's calling your name, when your prayers seem to hang unanswered in the air, that's when God is doing his deepest work. You see, silence exposes what's weak inside of us. It forces us to confront what we've been hiding behind noise. When everything around you is quiet, you can no longer distract yourself from what hurts, from what's broken, from what's unfinished. Silence has a way of stripping you down until all that's left is you and God. That's where real strength begins, not when you're surrounded by support, but when you're standing alone, learning how to trust that even when you can't feel him, he's still working. God doesn't build warriors in comfort. He builds them in quietness. Quiet seasons of life are like a spiritual gym. They're heavy, they're stretching, they're lonely, but they make you strong. Because in the silence, your faith stops being emotional and starts becoming foundational. You stop needing to feel good to believe. You stop needing signs to stay faithful. You stop depending on constant encouragement to keep moving. Silence trains your spirit to stand on truth even when your feelings are screaming otherwise. Some of the greatest growth you will ever experience will happen when you hear nothing from heaven. because that silence doesn't mean God's absence. It means God's trust. When God goes silent, it's because he knows you already have what it takes to make it through. He's testing what he's already taught you. Just like a teacher stays quiet during an exam, God stays quiet during your test, not because he's gone, because he's watching to see if you'll apply what he's already shown you. The silence isn't punishment. It's proof that you're ready for the next level. But the problem is most of us panic in the quiet. We're so used to noise. People talking, notifications buzzing, constant movement, that when everything goes still, we start to feel uncomfortable. We think something's wrong. We start questioning God's love, doubting his plan, fearing the worst, yet that's exactly what God is trying to heal. He's teaching you to find peace in stillness. He's teaching you to stop needing constant confirmation and to start trusting consistent character, his character. Because when you can trust God in the silence, you'll be unshakable in the storm. In the silence, your perspective shifts. You begin to realize that not every delay is denial, not every pause is punishment, and not every quiet moment is a sign of distance. Some silences are sacred. Some silences are invitations for reflection. Some silences are the wombs of new beginnings. Think about it. Seeds grow in silence. Babies develop in silence. Healing takes place in silence. Just because you can't hear movement doesn't mean there isn't progress. God often works best when no one sees or hears him. He's strengthening your roots before he shows your fruit. Silence also builds spiritual hearing. When life is loud, it's easy to mistake your emotions for God's voice. But in the stillness, the true voice of God becomes clearer. It's not thunderous, it's gentle. It's not dramatic, it's deliberate. And it's in that quiet space that he downloads instruction, correction, and direction. You can't receive that in chaos. That's why he quiets your world, not to ignore you, but to teach you how to discern him. When you learn to hear God in silence, no noise can confuse you again. The truth is, we don't value silence because it exposes our dependence on external strength. We like the comfort of having people to talk to, activities to distract us, plans to keep us busy. But in silence, there's no one left to impress, no one left to validate you, no one left to lean on. It's just you and God. That's where dependence turns into devotion. That's where performance turns into presence. That's where strength begins to mature. It's in the silence that your tears start to mean something. It's in the silence that your prayers become real, not rehearsed. It's in the silence that your heart starts to soften again. Because when the world gets quiet, heaven gets close. God begins to whisper things to you that you were too distracted to hear before. He starts revealing truths about who you are, what you're carrying, what he's preparing you for. That's why you can't rush the silent season. If you leave too early, you'll walk out half-built. If you quit too soon, you'll miss the strength he's trying to give you. So don't resent the silence, embrace it, let it refine you. Let it mature your faith. Let it teach you how to rest without quitting, how to wait without complaining, how to trust without evidence. Because the silence is not a void, it's a vessel. It's carrying you into the next version of yourself. The you that can stand without applause. The you that can believe without proof. The you that can praise even when you don't understand. And when God finally breaks that silence, when he speaks, when he moves, when he reveals what he's been doing all along, you'll look back and realize that the silence was not wasted time. It was sacred time. It was where your faith was fortified, your courage was cultivated, and your relationship with God was deepened. You'll come out of that season with a quiet kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need to shout to be sure, doesn't need to see to believe, doesn't need to be surrounded to feel secure. Because once you've found strength in the silence, you'll never fear stillness again. When God starts to disconnect you from certain people, places, and patterns, it's not because he's trying to leave you lost. It's because he's trying to lead you right. You see, there are times in life when you've been surrounded by so many opinions, so many distractions, so many influences that you can't even hear your own thoughts anymore, let alone God's voice. So what does he do? He begins to separate. He begins to create distance between you and the things that no longer serve your purpose. It may feel painful, it may feel confusing, but in truth, it's divine direction disguised as disconnection. When God disconnects you, it's not rejection, it's redirection. It's His way of clearing out the noise so He can give you clarity. Because sometimes you can't move forward until certain things fall away. You've been asking for guidance, you've been praying for clarity, and God answers not by speaking more, but by removing more. He starts subtracting what you thought you needed, and in that subtraction, He's actually simplifying your path. He's narrowing your focus. He's helping you see what really matters. Some of you are wondering why certain relationships are fading, why certain friendships are becoming distant, why certain environments that once felt right suddenly feel heavy. It's not because you've done something wrong. It's because God is trying to make room for something better. He's aligning your life with your calling. The disconnection you're feeling is not a punishment, it's a process. Because before God can direct you, He often has to disconnect you from where you are. When you're constantly surrounded by noise, you can't hear instruction. When you're constantly influenced by others, you can't discover your own identity. That's why God sometimes shuts down the very connections you thought were essential. He'll let certain people stop responding. He'll let certain opportunities fall through. He'll let certain doors close, not because He's cruel, but because He knows if He didn't, you'd stay comfortable. You'd stay stuck in something that looks familiar, but no longer fits your future. Disconnection feels like loss. It's actually liberation. It's freedom from the expectations that kept you bound. It's release from the approval you depended on. Separation from voices that kept you small. And in that space, God begins to speak to you in a new way. You start to sense things you couldn't sense before. You start to see purpose with new eyes. Because once God disconnects you from noise, He reconnects you to His direction. Think of Abraham. God told him, leave your country, your people, and your father's house. Go to the land I will show you. That command was more than relocation. It was revelation. God was teaching Abraham that sometimes you won't see where you're going until you leave where you've been. Disconnection precedes direction. As long as Abraham stayed in familiar territory, he couldn't receive fresh instruction. And that's true for you too. As long as you stay tied to what God is trying to separate you from, you'll keep missing the clarity He's trying to give you. So if you're in a season where you feel distant, where you feel cut off, where you feel like nothing is connecting anymore, don't panic. This is not chaos. This is choreography. God is rearranging the pieces of your life so that everything aligns with His design. He's not breaking your connections to leave you stranded. He's breaking them to lead you into alignment. Because not every connection is covenant. Some connections were meant for a season, not a lifetime. Some people were meant to walk with you part of the way, not all the way. And if you cling to what's seasonal, you'll miss what's eternal. Disconnection also protects you. There are people and environments that can't handle where God is taking you. He sees motives you don't see. He hears conversations you never heard. So when He pulls you away from certain circles, He's not being cruel. He's being careful. He's shielding you from sabotage, protecting your promise. That's why some doors close abruptly. That's why some relationships fade unexpectedly. Because God is saying, this can't go with you. This won't survive where I'm sending you. It's hard to accept it in the moment because we crave connection. We want to feel understood. We want to belong. But God's plan for your life is bigger than your comfort. And sometimes the only way to teach you how to follow His direction is to first remove the ones you've been following instead. You can't hear His guidance clearly if you're still chasing human validation. Disconnection breaks that dependency. It teaches you to walk by faith, not by familiarity. And once you learn to embrace disconnection, you'll start to recognize it as guidance. You'll stop asking, why did they leave? And start saying, thank you, God, for showing me what couldn't stay. You'll stop mourning over who walked away and start rejoicing over the clarity you've gained. Because every time God disconnects you from something, He's connecting you to something better, a deeper level of purpose, a stronger sense of direction, more focused version of you. When God starts pruning your life, you might lose branches, but you'll keep the root. You might lose company, but you'll keep calling. You might lose comfort, but you'll gain clarity. That's the trade off of transformation. You can't hold on to the old and still walk into the new. Disconnection is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to direct you. So if it feels like God is pulling you away from what's familiar, don't fight it. Flow with it. Trust that the same God who's disconnecting you knows exactly where he's taking you. The silence, the distance, the separation, they're not random. They're routes to something greater. You may not see it now. One day you'll look back and realize that every disconnection was divine direction in disguise. Every goodbye was guidance. Every closed door was a compass, because God never disconnects without a destination in mind. And when he leads, you'll never end up lost. Elevation always requires separation. You cannot rise while staying attached to what keeps you grounded. You cannot step into new dimensions while still trying to please the same people who only understood the old version of you. When God is ready to elevate you, he begins by shifting your surroundings. He separates you from comfort, from routine, from relationships that once felt right but no longer fit your destiny. It's not cruelty, it's construction. God cannot lift you higher until he first loosens your ties to what holds you down. Separation is not something we naturally welcome. It hurts. It feels like loss. You start wondering why the circle that once celebrated you now seems silent, why the people who used to walk with you have started drifting away, why what once fulfilled you now feels empty. But what you're really experiencing is the divine tension between where you've been and where you're going. The higher God takes you, the less you can carry with you. Just as a plane sheds unnecessary weight before takeoff, your life must shed unnecessary attachments before elevation. God's elevation always exposes weight. You can't soar when you're overloaded with emotional baggage, unhealthy attachments, or constant distractions. Sometimes he has to strip you of things you thought you needed, not to break you, but to make you lighter. He removes what's heavy so you can rise higher. You see, there are people who are perfect for your past, but poisonous for your progress. They love the version of you that was still growing, still dependent, still available to their comfort. But they can't handle the version of you that's focused, disciplined, and chosen. So when God begins to elevate you, he will naturally create separation. Look at the eagle. When it senses that its young are ready to fly, it begins to stir the nest. It removes the soft feathers, the comfort, the warmth, not to harm them, but to make them uncomfortable enough to leave. That's what God does when he's preparing you for elevation. He stirs your nest. He makes the places that used to feel safe suddenly feel tight. The conversations that once fed you now drain you. The environments that once inspired you now limit you. You begin to sense that you don't belong there anymore. That's not arrogance, that's awareness. That's heaven's signal that it's time to rise. But rising comes with a cost. You can't take everyone with you. You can love people deeply and still understand that their season in your story has expired. It doesn't mean they were bad. It means their purpose is complete. God allows separation to protect the elevation, because if he let you take everyone along, some would sabotage your flight. Not out of malice, but because they can't breathe at the altitude you're going to. Not everyone can handle the air of destiny. It's thin, it's pure, requires discipline. So God does you a favor and removes them before they pull you down. Sometimes you'll try to hold on anyway. You'll fight the separation. You'll beg God to let certain people stay, to keep certain doors open, to maintain certain routines. God loves you too much to let you settle. He knows that holding on to what's behind you will delay what's before you. Every time you refuse to let go, you prolong the process. Every time you cling to the familiar, you postpone the fulfillment. That's why some seasons of your life end abruptly, because God won't let you sabotage your own elevation. Elevation changes your perspective. When you rise, you begin to see things differently. From the ground, your vision is limited. You can only see what's near. But from above, you gain clarity. You begin to understand why certain things had to happen, why certain doors had to close, why certain people had to walk away. all starts to make sense once you see it from a higher place. The separation that once broke your heart becomes the strategy that built your purpose. You realize that if God hadn't taken them away, you would have stayed stuck in a season that could never sustain your calling. Elevation also tests your humility. The higher you go, the more God will require of your heart. He's not just elevating your status, He's elevating your spirit. Because true elevation is not about being seen, it's about being prepared to serve at a greater level. You can't serve with pride still in your heart. That's why separation isn't only external, it's internal. God separates you from your own ego, from your dependence on validation, from your hunger for recognition. He teaches you that the real power of elevation is not in the spotlight, but in surrender. There's also a loneliness that comes with rising. The air gets thinner at higher levels, and so does company. Don't misinterpret that as rejection. It's refinement. God isolates you so you can handle the weight of where you're headed. You'll notice that as you ascend, the crowd gets smaller, but your focus gets sharper. You begin to operate not from a place of noise, from a place of necessity. You stop chasing attention and start chasing assignment. You stop living to be accepted and start living to be effective. Elevation is not glamorous. It's gritty. It's painful. It requires pruning, patience, and perseverance. There will be moments when you'll want to descend back to comfort, when you'll question if the cost is worth it. If you stay faithful through the separation, you'll realize that every sacrifice was sacred. Every goodbye was guidance. Every lonely night was a lesson in strength. And one day, when you finally step into the place God prepared for you, you'll understand. You had to lose some people to find yourself. You had to release some things to receive better ones. You had to walk alone for a while to learn how to fly. So don't resist the separation. Embrace it. God, strip away everything that can't survive the altitude of your destiny. Because the only way to rise is to release. Only way to be elevated is to be emptied. And when you finally surrender to that process, you'll discover that the separation wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your becoming. The wilderness is not a place of punishment. It's a place of preparation. It's where God takes you when He's getting ready to transform you. It's where He strips away what's unnecessary so He can build what's eternal. Everyone wants the promise. Few are willing to walk through the wilderness to get there because the wilderness is uncomfortable. It's lonely. It's uncertain. It's full of days where nothing seems to make sense, where prayers echo back with silence, where the only company you have is your own thoughts. What you don't realize in the beginning is that the wilderness is not working against you. It's working for you. It's the proving ground where God develops the strength, the endurance, and the faith you'll need when you reach your destiny. God leads you into the wilderness. It's never random. It's intentional. He doesn't send you there to destroy you. He sends you there to detox you. You've come out of a world filled with noise, opinions, habits, and people that shaped how you thought, how you lived, and how you believed. But to use you, God has to renew you. And renewal doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in isolation. That's why the wilderness feels so hard, because God is doing surgery on your soul. He's removing the old patterns, cutting away the dependencies, and exposing the weaknesses that comfort kept hidden. In the wilderness, you learn who you are without applause. You learn how to stand without support. You learn to depend on what you cannot see and trust what you cannot explain. The wilderness teaches you to live by faith, not feelings. It teaches you to listen more than you speak. It teaches you to wait even when you want to run. Every step through that dry, quiet place is a test of obedience, question of trust. Will you still follow when the map is unclear? Will you still worship when you don't feel inspired? Will you still believe when you can't see a sign of progress? That's what the wilderness is designed to reveal, whether your faith is built on circumstance or conviction. Think about Moses. Before he ever led a nation, he lived 40 years in the wilderness. Before he ever heard God's voice from a burning bush, he walked alone through silence and heat. That wilderness season wasn't wasted. It was necessary. It was where God humbled him, trained him, transformed him from a man of impulse to a man of purpose. The same is true for David. Faced his own wilderness while tending sheep before ever facing Goliath or wearing a crown. The wilderness taught him discipline, taught him how to hear God, taught him how to fight battles without an audience. And even Jesus, before beginning his ministry, was led into the wilderness for 40 days, not because he was weak, but because he needed to demonstrate strength. Wilderness doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're being built. The wilderness also teaches you to let go. You can't take old habits into a new promise. You can't carry the weight of yesterday into tomorrow's calling. So God lets the wilderness strip you of what you thought you needed. You'll watch things fall away. People you relied on, positions you identified with, plans you held tightly, and it will feel like loss. But every loss in the wilderness has a purpose. God removes it because it can't survive where He's taking you. He lets the wilderness purify your priorities. You stop chasing what looks good and start craving what's right. You stop begging for what's familiar and start trusting what's divine. It's in that barren place that your true power begins to emerge. Because when everything is stripped away, you finally see what's been sustaining you all along. It's not the comfort of people, not the certainty of plans. It's the presence of God. You begin to understand that as long as He's with you, you're never really alone. As long as His hand is guiding you, you're never truly lost. The wilderness teaches you that God's provision doesn't always look like abundance. Sometimes it looks like daily bread, just enough for the moment. But that's enough because it builds your trust. The wilderness will humble you. It will teach you to depend on grace. It will silence your pride, refine your motives, and force you to confront yourself. You'll see sides of you that you never wanted to face. Your fears, your doubts, your impatience. That's part of the process. God isn't trying to expose you to shame you. He's trying to expose you to heal you. The wilderness reveals what's real. It shows you what's unshakable inside you. It burns away the superficial so that only the sincere remains. At times, you'll feel like you've been forgotten. The days will feel endless. You'll wonder why others seem to be moving forward while you're standing still. But even when it feels like nothing is happening, something is. Growth is taking place beneath the surface. Roots are forming. Characters being shaped. God is preparing you for doors you're not yet ready to walk through. If He took you out too soon, you wouldn't have the strength to stay where He's leading you. So He keeps you hidden in the wilderness until you're ready to be revealed. When the time comes and God finally leads you out, you won't just be the same person with more blessings. You'll be a transformed person with deeper wisdom. You'll carry lessons that only the wilderness could teach you. You'll walk with a quiet confidence that no crowd could give you. You'll know what it means to survive with nothing but faith, and that knowledge will carry you through every storm that follows. So don't despise the wilderness. It's not the end of your story. It's the birthplace of your strength. It's where your spirit learns to stand. It's where your vision becomes clear. It's where your faith becomes unshakable. The wilderness doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to define you. When you finally emerge from it, you won't just come out stronger. You'll come out wiser, purer, and ready for everything God prepared for you on the other side. Sometimes God will close every door around you, not because He wants to hurt you, because He wants to redirect you. There are moments in life when you'll feel trapped between what was and what's next, when everything you relied on suddenly stops working. The plans you made crumble, the opportunities you thought were certain disappear, people you trusted drift away. It's confusing. It feels unfair. You pray, but the answers don't come in the way you expect. You knock on doors, they won't open. You wait for signs, but all you find is silence. In those moments, it's easy to think something has gone wrong. But the truth is that sometimes God allows closed doors because He's protecting you from paths that were never meant for you. You see, we often assume that if something doesn't work out, we've failed. But in reality, not every closed door is rejection. Some are direction. Sometimes God will shut something down before you get too deep into it because He knows what's ahead. He sees the parts you can't see. He knows where that path leads. You might think you're losing something good, but he knows it would eventually destroy your peace, your purpose, or your growth. What looks like disappointment now may be the very thing saving you from heartbreak later. It's hard to understand this in the moment. When doors close, our natural reaction is to push harder, to try to force things open. We chase after people who walked away. We cling to plans that have expired. We try to fix what God is trying to end. But when God closes a door, it's not to punish you. It's to protect you from what's behind it. He's saying, trust me, there's more ahead. It's just that you can't see it yet. The waiting, the silence, and the redirection are all part of the preparation. When God closes a door, he's not leaving you without direction. He's leading you toward a better one. Think about how many times in your life you wanted something so badly, maybe a job, a relationship, or an opportunity. And when it didn't work out, you were devastated. But later, when you look back, you realize that if you had gotten what you wanted, it would have held you back from something greater. That's how God works. He's not trying to limit your life. He's trying to align it with his purpose. There's a reason God doesn't reveal every detail at once. If he showed you the whole path, you'd try to skip the process. And the process is where the growth happens. It's where your faith matures, your patience deepens, and your character is refined. Closed doors are God's way of teaching you that your destiny doesn't depend on what you can control. It depends on what you can trust. He's teaching you to walk by faith, not by sight. You may feel like you're standing still, but you're not. Every door that closes is positioning you for something better. Every no is making room for the right eyes. Every delay is developing something in you that you'll need when you get to your next season. It's not wasted time, it's preparation time. And when the right door opens, you'll understand why all the others had to close. Sometimes God closes doors to test your response. Will you complain or will you trust? Will you let bitterness take root or will you keep your faith alive? Because your reaction to a closed door reveals the depth of your belief. It's easy to have faith when everything's flowing smoothly. Real faith is proven when nothing goes according to plan. It's when you can say, I don't understand. I still believe that God is working for my good. That kind of faith moves mountains. Closed doors also have a way of revealing what's inside your heart. They expose what you're attached to. They show you whether you were following God or just following comfort. When he removes what you depended on, it forces you to depend on him. It's uncomfortable, but that's how he strengthens your trust. He'll let certain things end so you can discover that your identity was never in them, it was always in him. Look at the pattern throughout Scripture. Joseph had doors close in his life, betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and imprisoned for something he didn't do. Every closed door led him closer to the throne God had prepared for him. If any of those doors had stayed open, he would never have reached his destiny. What looked like rejection was actually redirection. And the same principle applies to you. The doors that closed were not the end. They were detours leading to divine purpose. Sometimes the door doesn't close gently. It slams shut. The opportunity vanishes suddenly. The relationship ends without explanation. The season changes without warning. It hurts. It leaves you questioning everything. Even in those painful endings, God is still present. He's not absent in the closing. He's active in the redirection. He's preparing something that will fit you perfectly. You may not see it yet. One day you'll look back and realize that the closed doors were some of the greatest blessings of your life. When you learn to accept closed doors as part of God's plan, peace replaces frustration. You stop striving and start trusting. You stop trying to make things happen and start allowing things to unfold. You realize that what's meant for you won't need to be forced. It will flow. You won't have to chase it, manipulate it, or beg for it. When it's from God, it will open naturally in his timing and it will fit effortlessly. So if you're facing a season where doors are closing, take heart. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're not being abandoned. You're being banned. You're being advanced. God is not taking things away to leave you empty. He's clearing space for what's greater. Every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. Every door that shuts is guiding you toward one that will open wider than you ever imagined. Trust the timing, trust the silence, trust the detour, because the same God who closes doors is the one who opens them at the perfect time. And when he does, you'll understand that every no was really leading you to a better yes. What's coming will make sense of everything that didn't. And when that new door opens, you'll walk through it not only with gratitude, but with the wisdom of someone who finally understands that God never closes a door unless he's about to open something greater. There are seasons in life when God will hide you and you won't even understand why. You'll feel unseen, unnoticed, and forgotten. You'll watch others being promoted while you're still waiting. You'll see others stepping into opportunities that you've prayed for, and it will make you wonder if God skipped over you. But what you don't realize is that the hiding place is not punishment, it's protection. It's in the hidden seasons where God does his deepest work. What happens in secret determines how strong you'll stand when the light finally finds you. God hides those he wants to use. Before he reveals you publicly, he must refine you privately. If he shows you too soon, you'll be crushed by the weight of visibility. You'll start relying on people's approval instead of his direction. You'll start chasing validation instead of staying rooted in purpose. So he hides you to heal you. He hides you to purify your motive, to break your pride, to build your spiritual endurance. Because if you can't handle the silence, you won't survive the spotlight. Look through the stories of the great men and women in the scriptures. Every one of them went through a hidden season. Joseph was hidden in a prison before he stood in a palace. David was hidden in the fields before he sat on a throne. Moses was hidden on the backside of the desert before he became the voice that led a nation. Even Jesus was hidden in Nazareth for 30 years before he performed one miracle. The pattern never changes. Hidden seasons always come before public purpose. God builds strength in the dark that he will reveal in the light. When you're hidden, it feels like you're being overlooked. You might even think you've missed your chance. You'll see others rise while you remain in the same place. But what looks like delay is actually development. God doesn't rush preparation because he knows timing is everything. You're not waiting for him. He's waiting for you to be ready. He's shaping your heart, refining your character, and removing every dependency that could destroy your destiny. The hidden season is the place where you learn obedience, patience, and humility. It's where you discover who you really are when nobody is watching. In the open, it's easy to look spiritual. It's easy to sound strong. But in private, the truth comes out. When there's no crowd to applaud you, will you still serve faithfully? When there's no recognition, will you still give your best? That's what God wants to see, because what you practice in private will one day be revealed in public. If you worship when no one sees, you'll have strength when everyone's watching. Sometimes you'll cry in the hidden season. You'll question yourself. You'll wrestle with insecurity. You'll wonder if God's promises will ever come to pass. But that's where faith matures. It's where trust deepens. It's where you stop depending on what you feel and start believing what he said. Hidden seasons force you to grow roots. Deep roots are what keep you standing when storms come. Shallow faith can't survive real purpose. That's why God doesn't rush your process. He's making sure you're strong enough to carry what's coming. You may think that nobody sees your effort. Heaven does. Every sacrifice, every prayer, every tear, God has seen it all. Just because the world doesn't recognize you doesn't mean you're unseen by God. He's watching how you handle obscurity. He's watching how you treat people when there's nothing to gain. He's watching your consistency when there's no spotlight. And when he knows he can trust you in private, he will trust you in public. Hidden seasons are sacred. They are like the warm, quiet dark, but full of growth. The seed doesn't complain about being buried because it knows it's not buried to die, it's buried to grow. The darkness is not your end. It's the beginning of your transformation. God is not hiding you to withhold something from you. He's hiding you because he's developing something in you that must be protected until it's ready. Many people want the stage, but not the solitude. They want recognition without refinement, but the anointing is costly. Purpose comes with pressure. And if you don't let God prepare you in private, pressure of public purpose will destroy you. He hides you so that you can learn how to depend on Him, not applause. Your identity will be rooted in who you are, not what you do. Because when the time comes and He lifts the veil, you'll be ready, not just to be seen, to stand. Hidden seasons are also seasons of testing. They test your motives. They test whether you're serving for recognition or for purpose. They test whether you'll stay faithful when there's nothing in it for you. And if you can pass the test of being unseen, you can be trusted to be seen. Some people fail their purpose because they despised their preparation. They wanted exposure before endurance. They wanted position before process. God doesn't skip steps. He hides before He highlights. He prepares before He presents. One day, the very people who overlooked you will wonder where you came from. They won't realize that while they were being seen, you were being shaped. While they were being celebrated, you were being strengthened. While they were chase platforms, you were building foundations. And when God finally brings you out of hiding, you won't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your fruit will speak for you. So if you're in a hidden season, don't despise it, embrace it. This is where you're being molded for the mission. This is where your faith is being built to carry the weight of what's coming. You're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You're being refined, reshaped, and readied for something greater. When the time is right, the same God who hid you will reveal you. And when He does, no one will be able to deny that His hand was on your life all along. Until then, keep working in the dark. Keep believing when it's quiet. Keep trusting when nothing seems to move, because your hidden season is not a waste of time. It's a divine investment. And when God brings you into the light, you'll realize that every moment of silence, every tear, and every test was shaping you for a purpose too great to imagine. Hidden seasons are holy seasons because that's where destiny is born. When God places a great purpose on your life, it doesn't come without pressure. The weight of your calling is heavy, and sometimes you'll feel it pressing against your heart, testing your patience and stretching your endurance. Purpose always attracts pressure because destiny demands development. You can't carry divine assignment with casual faith. You can't walk into promise without walking through process. Pressure is the classroom where God trains your spirit for the weight of your future. It's where He teaches you to stand tall even when life tries to bend you. The moment you say yes to purpose, life will begin to challenge that yes. You'll face resistance that makes you question if you're really chosen. You'll face battles that make you doubt if you can handle it. The pressure isn't there to destroy you. It's there to shape you. Diamonds are formed under extreme pressure. Gold is purified through intense fire. Strong trees grow roots during storms. In the same way, God allows pressure to strengthen what He's placed within you. What you're feeling is not punishment. It's preparation for the platform He's building for you. There will be moments when you'll cry out, God, why is this so hard? You'll wonder why everything seems to fall apart the moment you decide to do what's right. But the truth is, every time you rise in purpose, you awaken opposition. The enemy doesn't attack those who have no purpose. The storm comes not because you're weak, because you carry something powerful. The greater your destiny, the greater your development. The more influence you're meant to have, the deeper your pruning must go. God cannot trust you with public influence until He's proven you in private struggle. Pressure reveals what's inside you. It exposes weaknesses, but it also uncovers strength you never knew you had. When life squeezes you, your true character is revealed. If there's faith in you, pressure will make it grow stronger. If there's resilience in you, pressure will bring it out. If there's endurance in you, pressure will stretch it. God allows situations that feel unbearable because He knows you're capable of carrying more than you think. He sees the version of you that pressure will produce, the version that's bolder, wiser, and stronger than the one standing right now. Sometimes the pressure comes from responsibilities that feel overwhelming. You're trying to balance purpose with pain, calling with chaos. You're trying to move forward while life keeps pushing you backward. You wake up tired, you pray but feel nothing, you work but see little progress. And yet, somehow, you keep going. That's the power of grace under pressure. God's strength doesn't show up when things are easy. It shows up when you're about to break but don't. It's in the moments when your heart says, I can't take this anymore, that His Spirit whispers, yes, you can, I'm with you. Pressure doesn't just test your endurance, it purifies your motives. It strips away pride, comfort, and false dependencies. It exposes whether you're doing it for recognition or for obedience. When everything gets hard and no one applauds you, will you still serve? When no one sees your sacrifice, will you still believe? That's what God is looking for. He's not after perfect performance. He's after pure hearts. He's after people who will obey even when it costs them everything. Pressure refines you until all that's left is genuine faith, faith that doesn't depend on outcomes, faith that trusts even without understanding. Think of the olive. It only produces oil when it's crushed. The crushing releases what was hidden inside. In the same way, pressure is how your anointing flows. Your purpose won't emerge through comfort. It will be born through crushing. The tears, the disappointments, the delays, they are pressing something out of you that the world needs. You can't release what's in you until you've been pressed by what's around you. So when it feels like life is squeezing you, remember that God is extracting something divine from your pain. Your purpose is being poured out drop by drop through the very pressure you wish would go away. You may not realize it now. The pressure is aligning your heart with God's will. It's forcing you to surrender control, to let go of what doesn't serve your destiny. It's teaching you to trust Him in the dark, to walk by faith when you can't see the way. Pressure is the tool God uses to turn your dependence from people to Him. When you've been pressed enough times and seen His faithfulness through it all, you come out unshakable. You stop panicking in storms because you've learned that even under pressure, His hand never leaves you. Great person you admire has endured intense pressure before their breakthrough. You can't have promise without process. Before the crown, there's always a cross. Before glory, there's always grinding. Before elevation, there's always endurance. So don't curse the pressure. Thank God for it, because it means He's preparing you for something greater. If your life feels heavy right now, it's because your calling is heavy. God wouldn't put that weight on you if He hadn't already equipped you to carry it. The key is to stay steady under pressure. Don't run from it. Don't let it make you bitter. Let it make you better. Keep showing up even when you don't feel like it. Keep praying even when nothing changes. Keep believing even when you can't see results. Every time you keep moving under pressure, your spirit grows stronger. Every time you refuse to quit, heaven notices. And one day, the same pressure that tried to break you will become the proof that you were built for this. When the season shifts and the pressure finally lifts, you'll look back and realize it was all worth it. You'll see how every tear watered your growth, how every trial refined your faith, how every hardship shaped your humility. And you'll thank God not only for what He brought you through, for who you became in the process. The pressure that once felt unbearable will now be your testimony. You'll say, if I hadn't gone through that, wouldn't have discovered what God put inside me. So when you feel pressed on every side, remind yourself, this isn't the end, it's the making of you. God is not crushing you to destroy you. He's shaping you to carry more glory. You're being strengthened for something greater than you can imagine. Stay faithful in the pressure, because pressure always precedes power. And when God finally releases what's inside of you, the world will see that every ounce of pain was producing purpose.